Welcome to the OtherWorldsGG Community Cast. I am Table for Two, and this is episode number 11. I am joined, per usual, by my two co-hosts, Mellified and Alien Pickle. How y'all doing?
Being eaten by a Minotaur.
You getting eaten by a Minotaur?
Well, I was, but I've ended him.
Oh.
Congratulations.
That's right.
It's Minotaur, it's what's for dinner. Is that the tagline?
It's the other white meat.
Well, wouldn't it just be beef? Like they're bulls. So.
Maybe, I guess. Yeah, partially.
I wish there was. Well, there's centaurs, right? But there's no like horseman, like BoJack Horseman, and that would be really cool to actually have. Like, and instead of like I'm playing an elf, I'm playing a dwarf, I'm playing a BoJack Horseman. And it's literally a human with a horse head Archie McPhee mask.
I mean, like you have Elder Scrolls Online, which you can play as like a Khajiit or like a,
Did you sneeze there? Excuse you.
Sorry, are you the cat person?
Khajiit.
Yes.
Or like as a lizard person. Why not a horseman?
It seems like it could fit the long undiscovered horsey isle off the coast,
Yeah, World of Warcraft style. Just like it's been here the whole time. You just didn't know.
Khajiit has content if you have DLC.
Oh no, I love me some Khajiit memes. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, Hunter found out that he was wrong. Because I was like, "Hey, bro,
all right,
you should like sign up and like pay the monthly because you get like all the DLC content." And he's like, "Bro, I bought all the DLC content," and I was like, "Really?" Because I never heard about those thousands of dollars that you blew because he didn't realize how much DLC there really is. So then he logged in.
So my problem was this. I bought the collector's edition of the latest game expansion that just came out. There's another one coming out this summer, right? So the Greymoor, right? Is that what it was? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
So they have I did the collector's edition of that. So I've got the collector's editions of like all of the expansions. But what I didn't realize, because I'm an idiot, is that
well, I wouldn't go that far, but you can.
Well, no, I was an idiot because I thought those collector's editions came out with all of the content up to that point, like a World of Warcraft, where you buy the latest version of the thing, you get all of the content up to that point, right?
Well, and you kind of do for the major expansions, right?
You don't get the DLC dungeons,
but that's where you're going. Is that it doesn't include the fact that this game has additionally added DLC content that there's a lot of, and it's expensive to buy all of it.
Yes, because it's about $20 a pop, because 2,000 crowns is $20. Did you see the Crown Store? That's a thing in this game, right? And maybe that's a thing that we should talk about, maybe not today, but like research it across other MMOs of how do their cash shops work, because this is a very unique thing to this game where it is not a free game. It's a buy it and play it game. And there is a monthly subscription, but it's optional, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas Warcraft, you pay $40, $60, even $80 if you click the wrong button like I did. And you can buy the freaking Turbo Deluxe. But it was like, yeah, with that latest Warcraft expansion that came out, you get all the prior stuff, right? Because you bought the most current one. But if you're an active subscriber, then the next one comes out and you got to come off another $40, $60, right? So, but they are pretty infrequent. Like, what is it? Like 2-3 years in between Warcraft expansions at this point?
Yeah, 2 years roughly.
Roughly. Yeah.
Yeah, but not only is it a huge influx of money for the price of basically buying a new game, but then it also brings all the people that let their subscriptions lapse flooding back in to spike the monthly sub numbers at least for a month or two, right? I feel like that's kind of what happens is they spike the subs, like they pick up like 5 million relapse players, and then they fade back out again once they've burnt through the content in the new. It takes them 2 years to make an expansion, and about 2 months for people to actually consume it, and then they're gone again until the next one comes out. Which
that
is
seems to be the pattern.
Yeah.
So
ESO does it weird though, because they're continuously trickling out these like $20 expansion things, right? And then they'll put out like the $40 one once a year. Seems to be how it is. But if the little $20 ones that come in between, if you're a monthly subscriber, you just get them while you're subscribed. As soon as you turn the subscription off, they go away. But the game also has an in-game cash shop thing, complete with loot crates, which really kind of pisses me off because I figured out the mechanics of how those work. Because I was like, where are these people getting these cool mounts that I'm seeing? Because in Warcraft, it was like, how do I get that? Well, there's a wiki, and you go, and it's like, oh, I want this this weird like fairy dragon thing that you ride. Well, what do I have to do? Well, here's the quest line, and then you get to whatever, and you have to find the thing, and then an achievement unlocked, and you get awarded that mount. So you can tell that the person that's riding the mount actually did that stuff, right? That's their EPing for I did it, right? Well, in ESO, it's more like, yeah, I get my 1,600 crown coins that comes from the $16 that I pay in the subscription price, right? Because it's about $1.00. So think of it in terms of like pennies, right? It's like 1,600 pennies. So a crown crate costs like 5,000 pennies, so that would be $5, or right, or whatever, 500, whatever. Math, hard money. But anyway, it's like, well, it's $5 for this loot crate, and then the loot crate randomly might have that mount in it, and that's the only way to get the mount, because there's like 6-8 mounts, whatever, that are part of the game or that you can just outright buy in the cash shop, but the rest of them are all random drops out of loot crates. And I think their defense on that is, well, we give you free loot crate money because you're a subscriber. So it's not like you're paying additional for that. But I just hate that it's a damn slot machine. But it's interesting that this game is not a forced monthly subscription, but not a free game. But it still has a monthly subscription, and it still has a cash shop. So it's like a hybrid of all things, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I can buy the game, I can sub to the game, or I can play the cash shop to get the pieces of the game I want.
So before we get too much deeper into that, what are we talking about today? We're talking about persistent worlds. So, Professor Mellified, what the hell does that mean?
Well, that, Hunter, means we define persistent worlds as games where when you log off, the world continues on. It persists without you. All right, I'll stop doing the stupid.
Is that like my Arc server? Because it's still there whenever.
Yeah,
in a way, yeah.
MMOs are like World of Warcraft are kind of the best known example, but games where you run your own copy of the world, like Ark, Conan Exiles, and Rust, also kind of fit into this. And there are weird games like Fallout 76 that do a little bit of both. So we thought this was kind of an interesting space to explore.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah, Fallout 76 is another very strange. Why is it ZeniMax is involved in all these like experimental hybrid models? Because that's what's in common there, right?
So this is a great starting point. It's actually, you start off with the preamble there of the in-game stores and the way the monetization works in some of these persistent worlds is definitely interesting. So like the old school way of doing, say, a persistent world, which on a lot of levels was like an MMO, right? So back in the early days of like Ultima Online, EverQuest, Star Wars Galaxies, EVE Online, like the very early days, you paid a monthly subscription, typically in the $15 range, and you got access to that world, of course, after buying the initial copy of the game, right? Other MMOs came along the way and did models a little differently. You buy the game and then you play the game for free after that. So like your Guild Wars and your Guild Wars 2 and stuff like that. Very similar.
Yeah, and which was who pioneered the freemium cash shop? Like you pay nothing for this MMO, but then if you want to actually advance,
I couldn't tell you where that pie was pioneered, other than I know that it was a heavily influenced Asian market thing that they did in the Asian market, especially for mobile style games, that trickled its way over into the West. And
I do feel like it was mobile market made that happen, because people were like, hey, here's the thing about like in-app currency, and we could.
Sorry, and I think to that point where it kind of started to show here first was in MOBAs. So like your League of Legends, your Dotas, right? Like, well, Dota I think you had to buy, but League of Legends, isn't League of Legends free to play? I mean, maybe
it is,
that.
Yeah. Well, so, it's free to play, but then you have to deal with whatever random heroes they give you that week.
Sure.
So if you want to have persistence, you have to pay for persistence.
Right. But again, that's where these kind of things kind of started to trickle out, was these style of games that were more free to play that were like really popular, especially they gained international popularity. It was easy to get into, that kind of thing. That's where I feel like a lot of this stuff really started. And then the monetization scheme that then happened on top of that. And I mean, there's no better example than like Fortnite, right? Like Fortnite's just a huge example of that.
Yeah. And then you end up with all the cash shop problems in those games where it's like, well, this game's pay to win now. Well, why? Because it is adversarial in some aspect of the game, and I can get an upper hand by throwing money at it, right? And see, I never understood until I actually knew some people who went to work for a mobile gaming company, right? And it's like the concept of a whale. Like, okay, I can see somebody that pulls their phone out and they screw around with Candy Crush, or I don't even know the names of mobile games, right? So there's like Candy Crush, and there's all those like Kingdoms games and whatever, and it's like, okay, those things have like timers and stuff in them, especially like the Kingdoms games. Do you remember the old BBS door games, and how there was one of those that was called like Empire or whatever, and it was actually like it was almost like playing Romance of the Three Kingdoms but in text mode, because it's like, well, how much food do you want to plant this season, and how many peasants do you want to train into an army? And it was very simple economics thing, but it was about conquest of territory, right? And it was like some economic decisions. But then on the message board side, you would make alliances with other people and just be like, hey, we're going to go over here and screw with these guys, and that kind of thing. And then that has turned into its own genre, especially in the mobile space. In fact, if you remember that one it was Super Bowl. That's the word I'm looking for. The Super Bowl. And did you see where the Wall Street Bets guys actually bought a Super Bowl ad this year?
Oh my god!
No.
Yes, they did.
Oh, that's spectacular.
You know how much money that shit costs, and they were like, we bought this 15-second Super Bowl ad with the money that we stole from hedge funds, because screw those guys, and we didn't think we were actually going to make it, but we did, and now we're just doing our victory lap. Good night.
Wow.
It was just like, we're just here to waste their money in their face. And it was funny. But I've seen some people do some really cool stuff with that money that they robbed out of there too, which was like, some like go to some pediatric cancer ward thing and like pay off chemo for 10 kids, stuff like that, right? So it was just like, oh, okay, well, that's amazing. So but anyway, there was a Super Bowl ad that had, I can't remember her name, she was the Sports Illustrated cover model right that year, and they paid however many millions of dollars, and she got paid like, I don't know, $10 million herself for being in the ad for 30 seconds or something. And it was for this freaking mobile game that was basically, hey, how many crops do you want to plant this year? Right? It's the exact same thing as the BBS door game, which you can find a bunch of on Steam as well, because they have been ported from mobile over to PC. But it's the thing of, I had a friend that went to work for Zynga, and he was telling me about the actual economic habits of their player base, and I was freaking aghast. Okay, like that Super Bowl ad probably got paid for by about 20 of their players, like like their top 20 whale spenders probably paid for that whole Super Bowl thing, because I don't know why, but they just shovel money into that furnace.
Well, it's kind of like it's the Flappy Bird thing, right? It's the Flappy Bird phenomenon. Like, that guy who made Flappy Bird made out like a bandit just for making the simplest, dumbest thing, right? Now you take that simplest, dumbest thing and then you multiply that into a game where there's like you gotta like build stuff. Well, if you want this to build faster, you can spend some gems on it. Well, if you're out of gems, then you can buy some gems. So here, how about you buy, 50 gems for $5? And it's just like, sure,
but
I can spend $5,
but the thing costs 45 gems. So now you got 5 gems left over you can't spend until you add some more gems. That's Microsoft bucks. Wait a minute. Microsoft pioneered that shit on the Xbox.
Yeah. So that's the mechanics of that. So then that starts to translate over into some of these persistent world games like this, where these traditional MMOs all of a sudden become very interesting in how they handle their monetization. Now, I personally prefer a monetization scheme that says, hey, we're free to play and we give you X amount of stuff, but if you subscribe, it just unlocks everything, kind of like Star Wars The Old Republic does. But the other thing too is, if maybe you don't want to like subscribe, maybe you only want to like pay for certain things and you don't want to like necessarily have everything, well then like you can buy that character type and you can unlock it for $5. So you'd make a one-time payment for $5, and then like you can play as like a Rhodian or something. Like, I don't know. But like
the ones that I find interesting is I can't remember the name of the game. It just got re-released, and the one that they re-released was a like, we took the cash shop economy out, but you got to pay $25 to get the game now. And I can't think of what the name of it was, but the reason why is because when they put the cash shop shit in it, it did not at all change like the cosmetics in the game or the like the gameplay experience, right? You would have exactly the same playing the game experience as any other player. But what made a difference is the economic part of the game. Like, if you were into the crafting and in-game economy, then you could do like 11 crafting jobs a day and another player could only do 10. So if you wanted to pay money to get that extra thing, right, which didn't seem like a lot, because it's just like, well, what's +1 out of 10, right? But that's 10% boost, and over a long term, you have a significant advantage, right? So people were just righteously pissed that it's like, well, they got to monetize the game, and they chose like the lowest impact thing. But surprisingly, a lot of people were super invested in like playing the economy of that game. It would be like Eve as a fantasy MMO, but it's all about that marketplace, and and all the people just running around killing dwarves and pigeons and stuff and picking up loot chests and whatever. Those that's like your farmer base, but you're actually a rail baron. If you're playing the game as the economy game. So, but people got really pissed because the cash shop specifically fiddled with the economy in a very low key way that was actually profound if you looked at it too hard.
Well, what I find interesting though, like kind of moving on from that is, you know, with the MMO persistent worlds, not necessarily like the standalone server persistent worlds, but the MMO persistent worlds, the thing that has come to play in all of these games, it seems like, is you get daily login rewards.
Yeah, what the hell is that about?
You get rewarded just for logging in. Well, it keeps people coming into the game because it also inflates their numbers, right? Like how many logins did you have this month? Well, yeah, but like
engagement, I guess, is the
right.
word that we want.
God, I hate that word. But yes, but yeah. So,
are you an influencer with engagement?
Oh God,
and how much? Yeah.
Yeah.
We should just make like a list of all the buzzwords involved in.
Elder Scrolls Online does this. EVE Online does this, which is interesting. And then there was another game that I found out the other. Oh yeah, Star Wars: The Old Republic is doing daily login rewards now. Like I was kind of shocked about that. I was like, wow, I was not expecting that.
So pro tip: if you are interested in a game that has these daily rewards, but you don't actually have time to play it, or you're busy with other stuff, make a point of doing the daily login and that's it, because you will typically get so much stuff over time that if you're not playing and you do finally go to play, you'll have a huge advantage to catching up. Like Elder Scrolls gives away, crazy stuff that's super helpful.
So what needs to happen is somebody needs to write a utility, much like the guy. Yeah, the guy's $4 thing that like launches your launcher for you.
Yep.
And updates your games. He needs to write like a $4 app that just launches all your MMOs, logs in, logs out.
I'm just waiting for the moment. I'm just waiting for the day when like Star Trek Online adds in the daily logins, because I don't think they have the daily login stuff yet.
I am deeply shocked that they did not, because that seems to be the MO specifically with that company. Is their monetization stuff has always been really weird. Like it's not cryptic anymore, right? Like who is that these days?
Star Trek.
Yeah,
it's cryptic in the title screen, but I don't know what the
because
Perfect Worlds, I guess, is publishing it now.
They sold it to right. So and thinking about cryptic makes me think about City of Heroes, which everybody wanted back so bad. I wanted it back so bad. And it's back, and I haven't really played it, and I feel bad. Well, it's like when it's not available, you want it. But it's like, oh my God, it's inaccessible. I want it so bad, and then it's like, hey guys, it's back, and it's like, oh yeah, cool.
Well, I wonder if
my desperation is gone.
I was gonna say, I wonder if that's the phenomenon with World of Warcraft Classic, because it was a fight to get that, from Blizzard, and then I guess they throw it in with the regular subscription, so maybe that keeps people coming back for it. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like I did play it a little bit when I resubbed to WoW. I was like, all right, I got to check this out. And then I realized it's like, okay, yeah, it was harder, but it was also like 100 times more tedious. And I enjoy the increased difficulty. I do not like the tedium that this was, right? And it's like, okay, so we can't have like a happy balance, but sure.
Well, I think for me, part of the problem that I ran into with the WoW Classic, because like I resubbed up for several months too, is I was still too busy playing not WoW Classic to have time to play WoW Classic. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't want to play WoW Classic. I did, but like it was just like I was already spending so much time doing this other stuff, because I have still yet to like, they've added so much more content than when I was last playing, that I've bought the last 2 expansions, but I've yet to play that content. Right. So I'm still just trying to get caught up on that. And then on top of the fact that they now have this WoW Classic thing in here, it's just like, well, I would love to play this. I just don't have the time to play it. That's the problem that I've run into. So
yeah, I just found that it was an interesting place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. But yeah.
But speaking of Star Trek Online, though, you were talking about subscription models. So keeping on that bandwagon, what was interesting about Star Trek Online is they've gone a completely unique route. You can either play the game for free, or you can buy the lifetime subscription and call it a day.
And how much does the lifetime subscription cost?
One time $300 fee, but usually it goes on sale for $150.
Okay, so at $150, that's 10 months of a $15 subscription, and then you have it for life. And when you think of it that way, it's not as bad. But when you think of it as, I'm going to buy a $300 wad of DLC for a free game in one bite, then I choke. It's just no. But if you actually are going to play it for a year for the rest of your life, if you get 10 consecutive months out of it or whatever, good deal. Yeah. But if you buy the content thing, does that mean you have all the ships? Like all the cash shop shit is gone, or
no?
Do you still have to buy freaking dilithium crystals or whatever they sell?
So the dilithium and the C-store thing still exists. However, you get a monthly injection of 500 C-store bucks, right? That you can instantly sell and get like a whole buttload of dilithium for, right? Like, so you can sell that instantly, or you can save up your free money that you keep getting from all of that to buy like the expansion, like they call them the expansion packs. They're not really like it's not like expansion like content. What it is, it's like a pack for an expansion that has like a whole bunch of like ships and items and all kinds of things that you can buy for that.
Okay, so that is essentially identical to Elder Scrolls' thing of, if you are subscribing monthly, then you get premium cash shop currency that is equivalent to the money. If I, instead of spending $15 on the subscription, if I had spent $15 in in-game currency, I would have that. So if I pay for the subscription, I get that equivalent amount of the currency as well. So it's kind of like a double.
Right, but here's where the difference lies between what you're talking about with ESO and Star Trek Online.
Yeah,
so
well, I'm just saying that the common theme is
right. No, I get the common theme. But the thing with ESO, you have to keep buying all the new content. So like a new content drops, you have to like buy it. The expansion pass, you have to buy it. DLC, you have to buy it. But then, but if you save up
if you save up the premium currency that you're getting for free as part of your subscription, then you can buy that content with. But they know people don't, because people spend it as they get it. Right?
Well, so the other thing I was going to say though is with Star Trek though is, even when you don't have the lifetime sub, all new gameplay content is still free. Certain things are still kind of locked behind closed doors though, so you don't get like some of the extra little perks here and there. But like, you know, with the injection of like the 500 Zen a month, like you can sit on that for, you know, a few months and rack that up, and then you could buy all kinds of like in-game ships and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's interesting. They also monetize the game in a different way too, and on the back end with their C store. So like their C store has stuff. So like as you're playing the game, some of the things that like that the characters will drop will be these like these crates, right? Those crates require a key. So like you don't necessarily need the crates. You don't necessarily like it's just like extra stuff that you could get out of the crate, but you have to have a key in order to open that crate, and they sell the keys on the C store.
Yeah. Okay. So that's another mechanic that is maddening in games, because hey, here's a loot crate that you can't open. Mm-hmm. Do you want to buy a way to open that loot crate? Because it's not that I'm buying the loot crate. I'm just buying the means to open the loot crate that I already have. So it changes the psychology of it, even though you're just buying a freaking loot crate. Right? It's just like, well, no, I already have the crates. I just can't use them, and it makes me itch, and I have to.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I am such a sucker for these systems. It's really bad.
Yeah, and oddly, MechWarrior Online did that thing, and it was just like, wow, okay. So
interesting.
Yeah. So the different economic models of the different things, I guess it basically came from World War. You know, in the beginning there were many MMOs, and then there was the one true MMO, World of Warcraft, and no one could compete. even though everybody called their game the WoW killer, but they did not. So then the only thing that could compete with WoW, because the West just said, well, we're done, just don't even try. And then Asia said, oh, but wait, we have this new economic model and we can get the game into everybody's hands for free and get, easy adoption and then milk the money out of the people that it sticks. So that became the only way to compete with WoW. And then it has made its way to the American market, where it's more like Western developers are saying, that is an interesting way to get a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I guess we needed the Chinese to acclimatize us to the notion that it wasn't completely abhorrent. And then once we got weak on it, then we could exploit our own with it.
It sure seems like it, because all of these are psychological tricks to maximize the likelihood that somebody's gonna, buy in or spend money.
Yeah. So speaking of psychological trickery, right? Back whenever the guy who was also for a while there, the finance minister of Greece, I can't remember his name. It's a Greek name. But he was actually the head of economics at Valve, right? So this was in the era when the Valve holiday sales were also very gamey, right? It was like, oh yeah, while you shop in the store, you're also playing this slot machine thing, and we're randomly gonna switch which games are on how much discount. It's not just like a flat sale. It's like the prices are gonna shift around. So we're gonna play the shell game. Do I buy this game now, or do I keep waiting and see? Oh wait, it was like the video game stock market, right? It was like, oh wait, hey, Half-Life 2, the price just went down. Quick, buy the dip. And we're back in Wall Street bets. So were you diamond hands on the Steam store?
Yeah.
But it was really, the Steam sale was like a psyop. It was just like, let's play games with the customers and see how they react to this economic flux situation of unstable prices, of a week of price chaos, right? And I found that it was just really interesting that the guy that was like the evil mastermind of that ended up going to run finance for an entire country afterwards. It was like, wow. And as soon as he left, all that shit stopped. It's just like they play no more silly games with the customers' heads.
Well, I'm sure that had to result in a lot of customer complaints, though, because if I bought the game and then tomorrow it's $5 cheaper, like, that's not going to feel good.
Well, that's true. And I didn't realize that the like Chinese New Year sale was going to go on, right? And I paid the $30 for the Greymore DLC, and I bought it at like 11 o'clock at night, and then I looked about 2 hours later, and oh shit, it's for sale for $9. It's 2 hours. And I sent in, I just kindly sent like a refund thing. I was like, hey, I just bought this like 2 hours ago, and the price just dropped by 67%. Right. So can we maybe split the difference? I don't want to refund the game. I just kind of want to wish that I'd waited for 2 hours, because and then they wrote back, they're like, no, you've already played it for 2 hours, plus it's DLC and we don't refund DLC. Okay, sure. But yeah, that was just my you reminded me of that, because
that's gotta
they did get me. Yeah, it's like, whatever, but still.
Well, I think one thing that's kind of neat with the way that ESO does it is you can play, if you buy the game, you can play a substantial amount of content, which is,
everybody you pass has a quest for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And some of them are better than others, as you'd expect. But generally speaking, for the buy-in price of $60 or whatever for the latest expansion, you are getting a ton of content. There's a significant value there. If you want to do the high-end dungeons, that's where the DLC comes in that you have to buy extra. But you really only need it if you're at the end game, if you've already kind of burned through everything else there is to do.
Yeah, and the glorious thing about this is that because the sale is going on right now, this game is $9 with all of the content other than the shop stuff, but all of the major expansions that you would have bought up until the latest one, which is $9 right now. So for $20, you can get the full game, all the expansions that have come out $40 a year up till now, plus the one that I just got robbed $20 for. And on Friday night. So yeah, there's that.
Well, and that's the thing is I think that there's still a great value proposition there if you do nothing else, right? You pay your $20 and you're in and you've got a ton of stuff to do. If you want to play, do more when you've got to the end of the game, that's where the DLC comes in, like I was saying. And if you want to do crafting, if you want to do faster leveling and things like that, that's where the subscription makes sense. And then you also don't have to buy the end game stuff, and you get the crowns, as you say, with that to buy some nice cosmetics for your character. Yeah. But I think it's important to point out ESO's shop is all cosmetics with a handful of exceptions.
Yeah, there is stuff that's like, hey, get double experience for an hour.
Right.
But that costs $5. Yep. Right? That's no joke. And it's like $5 for double experience for an hour. And there's no way that I can make that actually worth the money. But the secret is if you just play the game, right? You do a couple of quests and you get equipment that has a 5% or 10% bonus to your XP. And you put on 5 pieces of 10% XP adding stuff that's free, right? And you're still getting 50% sustained all day, as long as you keep that armor on. So it's like the cash shop is a lot of that stuff is there just kind of like for suckers, right? But it also gives you those things for free. And not just as the login bonus, but it's like, hey, you're level 20. Here, have this thing that you would have had to pay for in the cash shop. Like first hit's free, kid. Right. And, get on the crack with the XP scrolls.
Well, and the thing I think too, where they push that is if you're going through with another character, right? You've got your main and he's all the way leveled up and you want to try the necromancer class or you want to try the warden class. Yeah. But you don't necessarily want to play through all these quests again. Although you could play a character to max level multiple times and never do the same quest twice. Yeah. But I think that's where they get it. Because one of the things in the shop is automatically unlock all the sky shards on this character. But you can only do that if you've unlocked all the sky shards on a different character manually.
Right. And there's the other thing that I find that you don't have to pay a dime for, right, is once you level a character to 50 and then you start another character, then all of the XP that you've put in champion points is like inherited by the next character. So you don't ever have to regrind that shit. So it's like, and talk about something that's like, hey, I just started a brand new character, level 1, right? And I've got like 15 extra skills that I didn't have on my first playthrough. So New Game Plus is actually a convenience mode. So please do level a character to 50 before you go into alts, because it will save you much grief.
That's interesting that you say that, because I noticed the other day when I was playing Star Trek, or not Star Trek, but Star Wars: The Old Republic for the first time in like forever. One of the things that I noticed was like a legacy thing. So I have like a Sith sorcerer as like my max level dude. And then I was playing on my bounty hunter, and I was able to use like force lightning as like a special ability. I was like, where the hell did I get that? And then I was looking through it, and I was like, oh, because my other character this, and that. And I was like, all right. So, yeah, I do appreciate the incentivization of like, if you max out one character on your account, then your other characters will get bonuses too. And and speaking of Star Trek Online also does that with the reputation system. So like if you max out the
Oh,
reputation on one character, then all of your other characters will have that on their account. But you have to max it out on one of the characters first.
interesting. Well,
Yeah.
and that's just a way to keep people playing, right? Because I've done all the stuff on this guy, but I could make now a different guy that has different abilities or different. I'm going to play a chick, or I'm going to play a dude. I'm going to play a cat person, whatever it is. That's the appeal of those systems. But one thing I was going to point out with ESO's cash shop, there are some crazy expensive things that you can get. They have player housing, but it's not,
Yeah,
I'm going
that's
to go
obnoxious.
build. Well, I mean, it's not, I'm going to go build a house out in the wilderness. It is, hey, we have built a house for you that you can purchase the rights to, and then you get to decorate it whatever you want, but multiple people can own the same house.
So it's like a guild housing thing in somehow,
Yeah,
right?
people use it as guild housing, but it's tied to one specific character. So
Yeah. So is there a way for people to contribute? Like you can't trade like crown coins to other
Correct.
players, right? So and the reason I bring this up is because that Sijic mansion that happens to be like on sale over the holiday here is still 14,000 crowns. That's $140 of real money for a room that you can put furniture in a virtual
you have to pay
world
more crowns for, by the way,
that nobody can see unless you invite them over to your, because the house is there for everybody, but I could own the house, you could own the house, and then when we walk in the front door, we go to our own instance of it.
So Star Wars The Old Republic does that too. So like it's got that same kind of housing thing where it's just like I have this house, but someone else could have the same house too. It's just decorated different. But this is where Star Wars Galaxies shined back in the day.
Yes, because this is our city that we built from a flat piece of dirt.
That's Dave's house. That's Sarah's house. There's Jim's house over there. Like, and you can walk into the city and you know all your guild mates if it's a guild city, for example. And then then maybe if someone's got their house open to like the public to like walk into, they don't have a lock on their door. You can walk in and see how it's all decorated. You can just like walk up to someone's house and see if it's open. Like,
or
even
you could make your house a store and hire vendors to stand there and sell shit.
You buy NPC vendors and they'll stand there and yell all day at anybody walking by.
Which oddly, Fallout 76 of all things brought back, because
actually that's true. I didn't even think about that. That's a good call. So anyway, but back to the Star Wars Galaxies just for a second. The crazy thing that I loved about that was like you got into some like really intricate and like really like people went to lengths to design things in wacky and unique ways. Like you walk into this person's house, it could be the same model house as maybe like the next door neighbor, but like the way that they've used items that they've collected in the game to design the interior is just like, wow, this is a completely different house than that house. And it just was cool that way. Like, there's just a lot of really cool things that they did. And even now on like the Legends emulation server that you guys can go and play on, they do monthly like contests, like housing contests. Like people can enter like their designed home into the contest and like win. So
that's the thing about the whole like MMO tourist aspect thing of like, hey, let's go see what other people made, because sometimes that is just way fun, is whenever you allow players creativity and then you can go just see what happened, right? And I bet for the developers that's just a continuous joy, is just like, let's go look at the crazy crap that people made with the tools that we gave them. And like that, to me, that would be like the reason to make something like that, is that so I can sit back and enjoy other people having great fun with something, and then I can actually see the fruit of their labor. So an interesting MMO that has embraced the shit out of that is Warframe, of all things, because they have that whole dojo thing for your Warframe clan, and that actually is a thing where all members that are that are in the clan can contribute resources, right? And then the people who are administrators of the guild can then take that stuff and craft the decorations and put it wherever. But it can be designed by committee, right? But it's definitely like resource collection by committee, because everybody throws stuff in, right? And then what you get out. So I have seen people build some insane shit. So the girl that was in Near Automata, there was a dojo that was featured in like the weekly thing. And when you went in there, they had used like containers and other in-game objects and created a statue of her that was like leaning over the space station. You know, like in Blade Runner 2049, when they had like the giant hologram of the robot girl like in the street, they made that with the Japanese robot character from Nier.
Oh,
like
wow.
Standing outside the window of the space station, but they made her out of like storage containers and just like room decoration junk. But when you got back from it a little bit, it was like a sculpture of the thing, and it was just like, that's mind bending. And the developers do developer streams like at least once a month, and they will feature player created content that's in there. And
That's
it's
cool.
like, that's dynamite. So back to Star Trek Online. Why did Star Trek Online take the player created quest content out of the game?
So it wasn't just that too. It was Neverwinter Online as well had the same problem. They took all of the player created content out of that and all the player created content out of Star Trek Online. And the reason why they did that was because it didn't conform with the new updates that they were doing to the game. So like they're putting in new content into the game, new things. It broke a lot of player created content. Instead of trying to help go back and fix all that, they just said, well, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, but okay, so the real thing would have been like, hey, if you made this content, we just updated the game and it broke your stuff. So you as the content creator have to go fix your shit, right? Or just not, and it's dead, you know.
Well, or offer a version of the game like World of Warcraft Classic, where
you don't want to support legacy versions of stuff though. But yeah, because then it's like now you got to upkeep double, right? And the game freezes in time if people want to stick to that version, but you're trying to sell them stuff in the new version, so you screw your money flow up. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons not to, but I just feel like instead of abandoning the system, just be like, hey, we've changed a lot, which is going to invalidate all the player made shit up till now. So we're going to wipe it, but the tool set is updated so you can remake it. So come on back and do it again. Yeah, right. Rather than say, hey, we're just not going to allow you to make stuff anymore, because to me, that would have been like, if I was going to create content in the game, that could have been great fun. If I was like a huge Star Trek fan, I could be in there like writing my own Star Trek canon stuff, right? Like here's the adventures of the USS Pickle and come along, you know, because I'm sure that a lot of the people that were creators had their following of fans. It's like, oh yeah, I always play this guy's missions because they rock or whatever. Yeah, it's
I mean,
sad.
there's lessons to be made from this, and I think another
lesson is that frickin' EVE Online, or not EVE Online, Elite Dangerous needs to put that player created mission shit in their game. Like I've been banging my shoe on the table and screaming for 5 years. They need to put player created content in there because the galaxy's frickin' empty.
Right, and so where I was going to go with this, and I agree with you on the Elite Dangerous thing, but I think a lesson to be learned here, though, is you could almost say that Grand Theft Auto Online is almost a persistent world. Not quite, because it's all instance-based, so it's not necessarily like a continuation of a living, breathing world. However, they do have a plethora of player-created content out the wazoo with their racing stuff and like all of the like special like
super do
like player, and so it's just like all of that stuff is just super, and it's pretty interesting too because like I've gone and like seen some like People stream some of this stuff. Some Twitch streamers like stream some just like crazy racing maps where you have to do like stupid stunts and like use the goofy Grand Theft Auto physics to your advantage to pull off a move.
Like remember we were playing that thing where it was like half the players were up on top of a bridge thing and the other players were in armored cars trying to jump up and knock them down, and you had rocket launchers, right? So there was that. And then there was that other one where it was like speed, where it's like there's the guy driving the bus, and if the bus slows down, it explodes. So he's got to keep going. And then there's the other cars that have to ram him and stop him to make him blow up. And they put that on special for a whole weekend. So like the entire community was doing nothing but grinding that, because that was the best way to make money in the game, right? So we played it till we got like physically ill from it.
Yeah, that was a fun weekend though. Like we played a lot of that, and we had a lot of good laughs and a lot of good fun. But it made it interesting. But yeah, it's just like, you know, that kind of stuff. When you allow the community to make player made stuff, granted, you're opening up the door for the weird, but you're also opening up the door to like see some really cool things and some like really cool, like there are some people out there that can make things in Minecraft that'll blow your mind. Right?
Yes.
Like just sure blow your mind. And then there's other times where you like log onto a server and it's nothing but dicks. And so it's like, you know, you get both sides of the coin with that.
Yeah. As someone who ran a Minecraft server where the express goal was to create the best, biggest examples of that particular genre, I take a little bit of offense at your comment, but no, I mean, yeah, player content is awesome. There are people out there who could be doing this professionally and aren't for whatever reason, and you give them an outlet and they can do amazing things. One of the problems that all of these things have, though, is they make things that are kind of irrespective of other people's copyright a lot of times. And
well, that's a thing.
Well, this is where dual universe, I feel, is going to run into problems, right? Like, I mean, just the other day, I walked into somebody's hangar in dual universe, and there's a TIE fighter strapped to the ceiling. It's like, well, how do you get around that? Because I asked the guy, and the guy said, well, it's creative liberty, right? Because it's not exactly a 1-to-1 of a TIE fighter. It just it looks like one. It's similar to the one, but it's also at the creative liberty of the person who made it. So I mean, like they put their own flair on it. So you could almost call it like whatever they
homage
call it, or a mod or homage or creative liberty, or, you know, inspired by, or. And I was like, well, that's interesting how you get away with that, because it's not exactly a 1-to-1 true, but you know what they're trying to make here. So this is a not TIE fighter. Well, how do you get away with that though? Because it's not the developer making it; it was a user that made it. So it's just kind of like, is that the same kind of argument that can be made from the modding scene? You know, when like you have these total conversion mods, like Star Trek Armada 3 is like one of the greatest examples that I can give, because that's such a great game, but yet that's clearly, these are models based off of Star Trek stuff, and but the developer doesn't get in trouble for that. They just allowed it to happen, you know. So it's kind of like, I think the licensing thing, if you allow the licensing thing to be where like I can upload a picture and it's a direct image of, or an exact screenshot from, or that's one thing, or like exactly like you've uploaded music of. It's not like taking a MIDI file, you know, and kind of putting your own flair on it and saying this is Stairway to Heaven, but it's like a MIDI file Stairway to Heaven, and it's an elf playing it in Lord of the Rings Online. You know, it's just like, you know, there's some creative freedoms there that are a little bit different. But yeah, on the whole, you do run into liability issues with some of these things at times, and it can be a problem. And these persistent world games are definitely fun, and I think it'll be a good opportunity for us down the road as OtherWorldsGG to do exactly like what Jim mentioned earlier, is to do some persistent world tourism, some MMO tourism, to go and look at these games, not just because of what the players have made, but also like what the developers have made. Like, let's go take a look at this thing over here. Let's go see what they've built in this world and experience just, you know, the awe and beauty of it.
So would you say you want to explore other worlds together?
Oh my God.
There it is.
It's like
It's like when they say the tagline in the movie, or like the tagline of the movie in the movie.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is kind of the fun thing, and I think, you know, we are of varied economic income and things like that, but you know, one of the cool things is free to play games are a great way to get in and just get to try something. Or when a game goes on super duper sale, like Eve or Elder Scrolls, like you can kind of dip your toe in and see if this is for you. I've spent money on games that I ended up hating, you know, and so I love the fact that we have these free to play games, even if sometimes their monetization is a little over the top, because at least I can go in and see if it's for me.
Absolutely. But we'll carry on this conversation for sure, and probably some future shows, and definitely on our Discord community. Speaking of which, we are running a contest over, not necessarily a contest, but a giveaway over on our Discord server. So if you go to discord.otherworlds.gg, you guys can get to our Discord server. When we get up to 100 members, we're going to be doing some giveaways. We got some Amazon $25 gift card giveaways. We're going to be giving away one a week for 4 weeks to our members over there. So come on over, join in on the conversations, participate in the giveaway, have a good time. So there's that. What else we got going on?
It's the 100 for 100 giveaway.
There you go. The 100 for 100. There you go. What else we got going on, Mellified? Anything else interesting? I know we do our Friday night community nights, yeah?
We do our Friday night community nights. We've got to do a Minecraft night coming up. We have a wonderful Minecraft realm that needs some love. It needs some buildings. It needs some creativity applied to it. So that I think that would be a lot of fun. It's a great example of persistent world we didn't get a chance to talk to is Minecraft, at least too much. But you know, one of the best things about the community in my mind is just the conversation. We have some great chat going on. We have members from all over the world already, as small as we are still, and so there's always somebody who's got kind of a different perspective that might be fun for you to talk to. So come on by and check it out.
Well, that has been episode number 11. Thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you later.
Yeah.